Hey guys, Martin here. We're still here for the month of April 2017. And I do say the month of April because this is now, as you may be aware, a monthly show. Reason for that is because and I know I've explained this multiple times, but just in case you're just tuning in this time, I found that I'm recovering from depression. I'm doing much better than I was. I want to say that I'm at least 50% better than I was, like when I started this series, and that is a significant improvement. It's not 100%. I don't think I'm close to 100% yet, but I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where I was, and I found that doing this every week sometimes was a bit of a hindrance. Like, it definitely helped me for the longest time, for a good 2 years. Honestly, doing this has helped me to deal with and confront a lot of the issues I was having with depression. But like I said, it was kind of when you get to a certain point where when you've got the training wheels on your bike and you're like, well, if I have these on the rest of my life, I'm not going to be able to really, ride the bike like, anybody else, like a regular bike. And I'd like to be a regular bike. It's my dream to be just a regular two-wheeled bike. That's my ultimate goal with this. But honestly, I'm really grateful for all the help that this series has given me. I'm not planning to end it ever, honestly. I know that's weird. This probably sounds weird to a lot of you when I'm like, I'm trying to recover from depression, but I don't want to end my series about me dealing with depression, because at the end of the day, I want this to keep going, because I know there are people out there who may have come to not necessarily rely on it, but look forward to it, and it might be part of your recovery. It might be. I don't know. I don't know for certain, but it's important to have this, for me at the very least, and I'm sure for some of you guys, just because if you know that somebody else is going through something, and if somebody else has been through something, and you have them there as a regular reminder that you can get through this, and it's not easy, and it isn't always like getting through it isn't always dealing with it or coping with it. It just means that you're still here, and that's the reason that it's called this "We're Still Here" series, is that you're still here, you're surviving, and that in itself is a victory over depression, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm rambling. I always start off these things with a good ramble, but I wanted to. And for the record, I'm probably going to be very rambly in this one, just because I've gotten about 2 hours of sleep, and that's got nothing to do with my depression. That's just that's something I've suffered as a result of jet lag. I just got back from a trip to China and Thailand, which was it was good. It was a good time. I definitely enjoyed it more than I would have if I was still, in the throes of depression. If I was still really down in the dumps as I was 2 years ago, I would not have had a good time. I would have been very overwhelmed. And there was one time when I was over in Thailand, when I did get overwhelmed, we were just walking around, and we were going around like the palace area and in Bangkok, and there were lots of people in the streets, just like, there was a lot of people just walking around because they were in mourning. I guess their king had died within the last year, and that's a huge blow. That's a real shame, and people were, I guess, there to pay their respects to his passing, and it was just a very crowded, busy, bustling area, and I kind of just sort of, I didn't freak out, I just sort of retreated into myself, But that's why I'm operating on 2 hours of sleep. It's because I'm jet lagged. And you know what sucks about operating on 2 hours of sleep? Not just the fact that you're tired, but when you wake up super early in the morning because your body is operating on a different, clock than your brain is, it's very lonely. It feels very lonely. It's a very lonely world and space that you inhabit when you're up and the rest of the world isn't, and you get very contemplative. You get very I start to just sort of think a lot, and that's not always a good thing with me. Thinking is the bane of my existence sometimes, because I think about the wrong things. I think about negative things too often, and that unfortunately tends to be just my default. Like, even without the depression affecting me, like, I tend to just look on the dark side of things. I tend to, not like the dark side like Darth Vader, but just look at the pessimistic aspect of things, and look at, like, all the things that I've done wrong in the day or in the week, and all the things that, I'm sure you've dealt with this, even if you're not dealing with depression right now, or even if you are, you've probably had those moments where you just think of all the stupid things you've done, the embarrassing things, and that tends to just blow up in my brain when I'm by myself and I'm thinking. But the last 2 weeks since the last We're Still Here have been okay. Like I said, we went on that trip. The really interesting thing about places like China and even Thailand to an extent is people who look like me. They don't see people who look like me very often, and I don't mean like just a white guy. I mean like a large white person, like a large person. Like they're very. They didn't tend to have many large people over there, and as a result, when I'm walking around, you get stared at, and it's not like they're being rude. They're just like surprised, I suppose. They're just like, what's that, And I don't blame them. I must be kind of odd looking. I must be very, irregular to them, and that's all right. But it did make me very self-conscious. I won't lie. And I guess that's something that I haven't really talked about a lot in these videos or in general, like online, is my weight. And that's definitely something that I say that's definitely something. That is something that has been affected by my depression. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I stopped caring about myself as a result of the way I was feeling and the way my mind was sort of working against me. And I know that it's not uncommon when people are depressed. They take to eating more comfort food, and I definitely am partial to that. But the thing that really affected me to the extent that it did is that, I just stopped caring about myself. Because it's one thing, I don't really overeat that much these days, but I just don't exercise either that much, which I enjoy doing when I'm able to and when I'm willing to, when I'm willing and I'm able. But when you're depressed and when you stop thinking that your well-being is a priority or even something that anybody would care about, you stop. You just stop. You let that fall to the wayside, and you let yourself sort of deflate, or in my case, I guess inflate. I don't know. You let yourself go. That's what happens. That's something that you do when you just stop caring. You don't take care of yourself because you don't care about yourself. And it's something I've dealt with in the past. I've had weight issues my whole life, and I don't even think that I'm necessarily, hugely overweight. I am overweight, and I don't think that, I'm healthy. I'm certainly not healthy, but that's mostly because I'm not exercising, I'm not taking the time to do that. But I don't want anyone to watch this video and think, that I'm saying, oh, I should be ashamed of myself because I'm fat and I'm sad and that makes me fat and that's a negative thing. Take from this what you will. In my opinion, the problem with that I'm having is just that I don't take care of myself as well as I should. And I want that to be something that changes. I want that to be a significant change. I want to change significantly. I want to be able to see a change in myself because that helps me see the change emotionally, if that makes sense. Like I have the body that I have right now because I let myself go because of my depression and because of a multitude of factors, I'm sure. But if I'm able to physically enact, an improvement upon myself, and I'm not necessarily saying be thin, I'm just saying be healthier, exercise, work out, eat healthily, that's something that will have a physical change in me. And it won't necessarily be a drastic one, but it'll be something that shows me and that I can see in myself that shows that I'm improving and that I'm recovering from the time when I didn't want that. When I could just look at myself the way I am right now, overweight, kind of a physical mess, you know, like just like I'm not healthy at the end of the day. I'm not healthy in my mind necessarily, and I'm not healthy in my body. So I want to be able to see both of those things improved. And the one of the reasons I want to improve my physical form, it's an odd way of putting it. It's not even my final form, guys. One of the reasons I want to improve physically is because it's a goal. And part of getting out of depression, in my opinion, is setting yourself achievable goals. Because when you're depressed, you think everything's pointless. And you kind of have to make a point for yourself. You have to make a check mark for yourself. Like you have to make a series of boxes, even if it's the most simple tasks, like tidying my room. I tidied my room the other day, and it felt like such a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And that's such a simple, basic thing. And when you're depressed, the simple things seem overwhelming. So those little tasks, I highly recommend just like making a small checklist of things that are totally achievable for you. Don't push yourself too far, but make a checklist. And when you've seen those things done, you know, that means the world, and that makes it feel like, oh, I'm not useless. I'm not hopeless. I can still do the things that other people do and that I used to be able to do. And that's you'd be surprised at how remarkably helpful that is emotionally. I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier. And that's a goal, a relatively long-term goal, honestly, that will, in my opinion, and this isn't, I'm not saying that you have to do this. Like, whenever I talk about things that help me, it's not necessarily going to help you, and it's not necessarily something you should aspire to do yourself. And I'm not saying one way or another what will work for you, but I'm saying what I think and what usually does work for me. I want to focus on really improving myself physically because I think in the doing of that, I will improve mentally and I'll improve emotionally, and I'll be able to see that change. You know, that's something I'll be able to actually physically see. And at the end of the day, even if it doesn't happen, I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen because I like to think that it will, but even if it doesn't happen, the fact that the goal is there is a big deal. And the fact that I'm working towards it, and I'm not saying that this is something that you have to do or that something that will fix anything for me, but just having the goal gives me a purpose. It gives me a sense of an idea of a purpose, and that is helpful, in my opinion. Setting myself an achievable goal, because I know I can do it. I know that I can do it. I've done it before. It's just I've let myself go to the point that it feels, or it felt when I was still dealing with the depression to the extent that I was, insurmountable. But I'm mentally well enough and I'm emotionally prepared enough to confront it and tackle it and try and achieve that, you know? I'm ready to try and fix, because like you get into just a state of disrepair, you know, you'll just, when you let yourself go, it's basically like running a car engine just until it dies, you know, and being like, well, I'm not going anywhere, but I'm just going to leave this running because who cares if it's running or not, you know, you just let yourself go, you know, you run yourself into a state of disarray and disrepair, and I want to fix that. I want to do that. My mum used to have a phrase that she would say that when I was a child, it really bothered me because I don't know. It was just something she'd say. Like, I don't know if it's a common phrase. I've never heard it used outside of my mother's disciplinary tactics. But whenever she would be upset with me and I was like being slow on the uptake, if that makes sense, if I was like sat down and we had to go do something and it would be like, you know, Martin, get up and do it, she would say, shape yourself. That was something she would say. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it would be like, Martin, shape yourself. And I want to do that. I want to shape myself. I want to see myself achieve. I mean, I don't even mean a physical shape, but just like I want to be in good shape, if that makes sense. I want to shape myself. I'm sure she'll get a kick out of that if she's watching. But yeah, I do want to pick myself up, dust myself off, and go forward. I want to move forward. I want to progress. I want to do all that. I do. And that's remarkable. That's a big deal for me. So, well, thank you for being here with me until I got to this point. Because I can guarantee, I can pretty much 100% assume, and I know that a lot of you may have been watching and been like, wow, he's letting himself go a bit. And you'd be right. And it's difficult to talk about, it's difficult to confront, but it's not impossible. And it's something I can do. And I thank you for your patience. And hopefully you'll be able to see the change in me soon enough. I'm going to give it my best. So thank you for sticking with me this long, and thank you for understanding about the monthly Mark Remarks. We're still here. Mark Remark is also going to be coming out soon, but that's not what I'm talking about here. It just came into my brain because I'm operating on 2 hours of sleep, and it's not fun. It's the worst. But hey, I'm gonna take off. I think it's just about time to wrap things up. But I just wanted to check in with you guys. Hope you're doing well. As I said last time, this series is going to be updated the first Monday of every month. And if I don't see you before then, because chances are I will if I'm doing a different video, either for Mark Remark or for the Patreon or whatever. But if I don't see you before then I'll see you next month, the first Monday of May. Is that what month we're in? I want to go back to sleep. I just want to go back to sleep. But I won't. I'll see how far I can get through the day on very little sleep. But you take care of yourself, which is not what I'm doing if I'm staying up. But please do take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.